Hello, good morning. Happy Friday. The sun is out. Maybe the snow will melt. We made it through week 3. February is next week. I can't believe it. The goal for today is to actually practice writing a press release, looking at kind of a campus event. And so we're going to put ourselves in the mindset that we are running PR for the Center for Career Readiness and kind of imagine ourselves saying, okay, we know like that's our client. They said they have this event. How could we write a press release to maybe submit, to a campus publication? So that's the goal for today. And so first we're going to, look through kind of the career readiness event info, and then we'll be working with the press release template that you created on Monday. And if it didn't get saved, you don't know what folder it's in, no worries. You can go to Canvas and there is a template uploaded there for you on the lecture material pages now. So you can grab that or your own template. And we're just going to kind of work through step by step, as well as answering Slido questions as we go. If there's time at the end, you can share out with each other something you learned from your industry summary. And there is a sort of practice portal that I've just added into Canvas, non-graded, where you can upload the activity from today if you would like feedback on how your press release is written and went. A few other housekeeping items. On Tuesday, the UNC scholarship application is due. So if you haven't submitted that, I definitely recommend taking a little bit of time, maybe this weekend, to go ahead and submit that. There are scholarships available for way more than just like first-year students. There's even some scholarships specifically for, upperclassmen, different majors. So always worth just go ahead and submitting that, see if there's any matches that you might get. And yeah, I'd say that's the really big thing. Cool. Before we get started, any questions, comments, thoughts that you have from this week of talking about press releases or your clients? Ready to get to it? Cool. All right. Let me kind of scooch myself down. So we are consulting. We just got hired to run PR, find some opportunities for the Center for Career Readiness. Has anybody used our Center for Career Readiness on campus? I want to see some head nods. Yes. Overall, they're great. They're definitely, and not enough people use them. It's free. You can get consultations for resumes, cover letters. They can help you get situated for different internships. Super great resource. Do love having them on campus. Highly recommend grabbing an appointment. One of the things that they do every semester is offer an actual job, internship, and graduate school fair, as well as a specific one for teacher education. So our kind of task and what we've been hired to do is help them get the news out to campus organizations. Think the Mirror, think student newsletters, think maybe even Bear News, about their upcoming campus resource fair. How is the primary way, what is the primary way we get press coverage in our world? Yes, exactly, right? The primary purpose of a press release is to get press coverage. And then they do all those other wonderful things we talked about on Wednesday, but the number one purpose, we want to get press coverage. So that's why we're going to be practicing a press release. So take a few minutes, a minute, write down kind of all the details you see on their event page. This is kind of similar to like you're in a meeting with, let's say, Lisa here. She's like, okay, here's the details of the event. So write down the things you think are important that I need to make sure I have that information for my press release. I'll take a couple minutes for that. And if you're looking for details, they were thinking about, okay, what will the news outlet want to know? What is important to get, people actually aware of the event, right? What do you think? And you can imagine and put yourself in the shoes of what might be a goal for even getting this kind of coverage. Those are great questions and clues to help us remember, okay, what information is important for us to write down? Feel good. And if you want to explore, further, their website is unco.edu/career. Let's So when we're starting and working with clients, as you start to have your initial meetings and conversations with your clients this semester as well, you can kind of think about, okay, this sort of three-layer kind of pyramid piece when it comes to making sure you have the information you need to write effective press releases and actually understand what kind of press coverage is going to be good for them. And so the foundation, kind of first layer, biggest sort of piece that we want to always be building everything off of, it is going to be this audience and the goals, right? Since the purpose of a press release is to get press coverage, we always need to make sure we're gearing it towards the audience and the goal for the event. And so the audience goals, it could change, right? You might have two different press releases for the same event, depending on who you're trying to speak to. So thinking about, right, the Center for Career Readiness, this career fair, we could speak to and write a press release really concerned about students as the audience, right? And maybe a goal of that audience segment is students should attend the fair, right? We want people to attend. Pretty natural fit, makes sense. What is a second kind of audience or even goal that comes to mind thinking about PR for the career fair? They might say, hey, we could go in a different direction. Pull the chat. All right, if we aren't speaking to students, who else could be a good PR opportunity for the career fair? Employers, yes, definitely. Absolutely. It would fall in the realm of PR to help the Career Readiness Center get employers on board. Hey, we want you to show up. And so a press release kind of oriented towards maybe some like industry focused newsletters. Maybe it's more broad and like the Greeley Tribune is going to look a little bit different than the ones that we're sending out to the Mirror or Bear News for students, right? And a goal instead would be, hey, we want you to come meet students at the career fair. Is there another audience that you could think of that might be good to write a press release about? Yes, I agree. Advisors, definitely. And they're going to be a little bit different. Goals, of course, now instead it's, you don't need to come to the career fair, like employers or students need to come. Instead, right, the advisor goal, maybe it's, hey, advisors, we want you to tell students about this. Maybe we want you to, push this specific message or information in your advising appointments. So right out of the bat, one event, 3 different press releases, 3 different opportunities. So as you're talking with your clients and starting to get a sense of what they might, want help promoting this semester, also keep in mind, you don't have to find like 3 completely different events. Now, some of your clients might actually have 3 different ones, and you're like, cool, I can work with that. Others might just have 1 premier event, but you can develop a different press release and a different kind of medium to meet those the client project requirements off 1 event, right? Maybe 1 for students, you send it to Bear News. Maybe 1 for advisors or faculty, right? You send to UNC Today, or even send to me with very explicit, here's how you should tell the advisors about it. I'm definitely an outlet you can use. And then you might have, one that's kind of just general to the UNC community that goes out in some other form. So do you think about that with the career fair? We already are thinking of 3 different ones. There's certainly others you can think of. For me, like faculty came to mind, a little bit different than advisors. Instead, maybe the goal is faculty, cancel your class during this window so students can come, or at least, tell them about it, offer extra credit. That kind of stuff could be all different goals. So this is why we want to always start kind of the foundation, the big bottom of the pyramid that we build on is thinking about who are we actually trying to talk to? What is the goal that we want from this coverage? Because that will inform the details, the call to action. So, let's start with, and I can flip back to real quick, but if you open up your Slido, go ahead and open up that so the question will stay open for you. 325-159. And I want you to now take a minute and think about who is the audience. Right? We just talked about a couple. You can write a press release for any of those, or if you think of an additional, group on campus, maybe student clubs instead of just general students. Maybe it's a letter to parents telling them, hey, guess what? Your student has this opportunity. There's a lot of stakeholders. So think about who is the audience you are writing this press release for, and practice writing it in that kind of XYZ description. So our sort of audience persona statement. And as a refresh, that's where we say, okay, it's demographic X. So this type of audience, current students, prospective students, advisors, faculty, pick the specific kind of demographic descriptor. And then we want to do kind of more of a psychographic thing. So they like Y, they want to do Y, they're interested in Y, to ultimately achieve an action Z. So it's a nice X, Y, Z. The who, the what do they like, what do they want to do. Nice. And now give us a few minutes to get that in. I sometimes find it helpful when I'm writing these for real right? I definitely like to conceptualize, sort of describe my audience, right, in this very specific kind of X, Y, Z, perfect, way. And then often I like to write it down maybe on a sticky note just so I have it in front of me. So you might want to go ahead and copy your statement into just somewhere on your template or another Word doc, just so you can always reference it. Remind yourself, who am I writing this for? So let's look at some of these. Let's see. Current undergraduate students, definitely super clear. We know it's right, the people who are already enrolled at UNC. We're talking just about undergrads, good X, who would like to look at future college options. Nice, we know what they're kind of motivated by, some of those psychographics, to ultimately go to grad school. So this one seems a lot more maybe focused on graduate programs. So if that's kind of who you're imagining, or you might tailor your press release to focus and highlight, oh, there's going to be graduate schools here to talk to. And you might think about, okay, who or what outlet makes sense for that? Maybe it's sending it over to the honors program or the McNair's program, those ones who work very specifically with students who are like, yes, I love school, I want to go to grad school. Cool, very good. Let's see, current UNC students, again, grade X, we know exactly who we're talking about. We want to network, find professional connections, career opportunities. Nice, I think that gives us a pretty good picture. Since it's current UNC students, you have to think, do I want to talk to even current grad students? Again, that's a little bit different outlet you might look at, or is it focused more on the undergrad experience? Those are questions to kind of tease out how important they are. You can be the decider of that as the PR consultant, but it's a question I would raise and ask as well. Again, professional connections, career opportunities, you know what you want to highlight. For me, I'm going to write it for professional advisors, but specifically thinking about those who are meeting with upper division students and talking about career planning grad school. So that helps me kind of narrow what channels I need to and what highlights I want to make sure that advisors see. Let's see, potential employers and UNC students who want to expand. So I would say yes and but. These might deserve two completely separate press releases because they are probably going to two very different organization types. You might need to spin it a little bit differently. And so I would strongly encourage defining sort of a single audience segment. When you're thinking about, okay, what is my demographic? Can it be distilled into sort of one group? And that doesn't mean that employers wouldn't also maybe see the same channels as UNC students, but especially in this case, probably less likely that an employer is going to be reading, UNC student media. And so always kind of think about both of these are great, both of these work. The second half, I think, definitely can apply. Employers, maybe are less interested in career development. Maybe they're more interested in expanding, their network of potential interns or something. So just think about, I'd suggest starting with one audience segment per statement. UNC students who want to start looking at career opportunities. Yeah, and again, let's really hit and highlight the career pieces compared to maybe the grad school pieces. Cool. Thoughts, questions about kind of step one, defining audience and some goals. Nice. I think this is a very promising start. Yeah, foundations. All right. So thinking back, okay, we're always keeping our goals in check. When, where, make sure we have the details in order. Now, we want to think about, again, some of those, making sure we have the details. So before we really even start writing the press release, okay, we have our audience, we have the goals. Let's make sure we have all the information accurate here. So based on, your notes that you wrote down, your client meeting, if you will, what is accurate? So why does it matter? Right? Especially if we're doing event or any kind of publicity planning with events, ooh, details definitely are going to matter, because printing things like retractions, corrections, ooh, you never know if you're even going to get the same people seeing it. It's going to reduce our credibility. It's going to cause confusion. The event's just going to be a little more messy. So we want to make sure, yes, we are all good note takers and listeners, exactly. So these are some of those key details that when you're working with your clients this semester, if it is for a specific event, before you send your press release to any organization for coverage, make sure and, kind of highlight, do I have all these details correct, so we can make sure to get people in there. And in this case, the afternoon, that's an important one. It's actually in the ballrooms. The previous 2 career fairs were virtual, so we'll definitely want to make sure to emphasize, hey, it's actually located on campus, because a lot of people might assume, oh yeah, I went to the career fair last year, and think that it's virtual. Good job. Boom. Okay, so we have our audience and goals here. Now we want to start thinking about the big picture, right? And that big picture is that, kind of short, sweet summary of what is it, why is it important, kind of one takeaway. And so we think about our big picture helps us write things like headlines, want to capture kind of the essence of the big picture in the headline. And then again, in that first paragraph after our dateline, we say, here is all the details you need. So if you only have one space, if the journalist in a newsletter only has space for one paragraph, they can take that first paragraph you wrote and know that all the information is in there. Second, even if they have more space, readers, we get tired after kind of a paragraph. And again, paragraph in this case might be 2 sentences. It's not necessarily like 5 sentences long. Well, you might get tired after reading. So we want to think about, okay, what is that big picture, and what can we tell the journalist, the reader, why they should keep going, right, in the press release, why they should run it, why they should care about it. So we talked a lot about things like newsworthiness on Wednesday, and so you definitely want to highlight, the when, the where, the why it's special, the value that it has, and that timeliness, some of that uniqueness. Good. So now take several minutes and start drafting up what is a headline that you think you're going to put on your press release. Once you have it drafted up, go ahead and add it to the poll, and then of course put it in your template. Thinking back to who is your audience, right? Because the headline will change and depend on your audience, your goals. And as we're getting these in, go ahead and start. Perfect. So as you're kind of finishing up your headlines, once you get that in, go ahead and start kind of typing out what that summary, that big picture summary, the first paragraph of your press release might look like. Again, it's going to depend on who you identified as the audience, and also should build on kind of what you said as the headline. So if you get a little bit stuck, I always find it helpful. I often write the headline first, knowing I might go back, tweak it, revise it. But putting it in, that shorter headline form often gives me just kind of a framework of like how to expand then with real sentences and more details. Go ahead and start writing that out, and then we'll review these in just a few. One thing or another thing that I personally used to be very bad at, when I was a student, and have since gotten better, and it honestly has helped me be faster, more productive, and I think make better stuff. But it definitely took a little bit for me to like flip the switch, is being really comfortable with quick drafting. So just kind of get the ideas out. Don't fret right now about, oh, is like the wording perfect? Do I need a comma here? Like all those small things. At this stage, it's like, get the ideas down, because I've always found anyway, or have since found, right, editing, revising is easier for me than like starting with a blank page. You can just be like, okay, I know I need to summarize it. Like, imagine somebody walks up and asks, hey, what is this career fair event? What would you say to them in that moment, right? We don't have a lot of time to like awkwardly just stare while we think, right? We just kind of respond. So I like to try to do that when I'm writing, and then it makes it easier to go back and revise. As a quick tip to make sometimes writing faster. Okay, let's think about some of these headlines. Join the spring 2022 job internship graduate school fair. Nice. I like this one because it does provide kind of all of the core detail. So even if somebody like, I literally am not going to open the article or read it any further, they at least know the big takeaway. And it does have a nice verb, join. It doesn't quite identify maybe who is expected to join. So you might want to think about tweaking that a little bit. And if there are details in the headline that could be maybe cut or condensed down to allow a little bit of space for that sort of core audience, something to consider. This one was mine. I'm kind of going with, again, my audience are advisors. I'm going to send it out to their channels. So I'm kind of focused on, what it's offering students. So the advisors are tuned into that. It's still identifying for me. Again, since I'm sending it to these employees who should already have some awareness of it, I said at least reminding them it's in February is enough for the headline. Then I can add more information later. Center for Readiness kicks off spring events with in-person job fair. That's fun, and that is pulling some verbiage, I think, from the website itself, which is always a nice touch. It's very it's very upbeat. I could see this headline running really well for more of like a student focus. It just has that kind of ring to it of like, yeah, let's do it. I like it. UNC Center for Career Readiness hosts in-person career fair. Boom, straight to the point. Since we identify UNC here, this headline might be really appropriate for external folks. I think if you're sending it to anyone, inside UNC, it's kind of like, yes, obviously it's going to be our career fair. But if you are sending it to employers kind of, outside of the UNC system, definitely important to put our name in there, because you bet they're getting updates for CSU's career fair and Boulders and Metros and all these different aims, right? So I love that. And so our Center for Readiness, I'd say it's like these two are perfect for if you're writing those dual press releases. One of them goes to external, one of them can definitely go to internal. For both, you might want to mention, again, the February part or a little semblance, or like in 3 weeks or something. But these are really great foundations. Nice job. Cool. Back to that. I guess they didn't say kicks off, but it seems like something that they would write on their website for sure. Now, another way that sometimes can be helpful when we're trying to write that big picture. I mean, did anybody feel a little bit stuck on the big picture anyway? Maybe a little, maybe not. Sometimes they're easier than others. One thing that can be helpful if we ever do kind of feel stuck is thinking back, like in this case, they sort of started at least a piece of what our big picture could be and summarize it already. So as you're working with your clients, they probably do already have some marketing materials ready. They might already have some web copy out, or at least a summary in their mind. And so if you can capture that, it's a great place to start. Now our role is to then, revise it, kind of tweak it, massage it to fit the audience, the different organizations, outlets we're going towards. But this definitely gives us kind of a great start. And we saw some of that even in the headlines that we all came up with. And this paragraph definitely can be a good way to begin. Yeah, even mine, I kind of started with the idea of the Center for Career Readiness will host employers and graduate schools on campus for students to meet. Advisors can direct students towards the registration link. It's kind of a key detail I pulled out that I want to make sure to put in that big picture summary, because I want the advisors to help students register for it. During academic and career planning sessions, it will be hosted, and then all the details. So that's kind of another little tip as you're talking about and thinking about what your clients are hoping for. Ask them, oh, do you have something on your website already? How would you describe the importance of the event? Kind of write down what they say, and then you can take that and tweak it. Cool. All right, so we know our audience and goals. Boom, crushed that. We know the big picture, right? We're working on it. We have a really great start foundation. So the last thing that we then put into our press releases are some of those details, those key actions. And so in our templates, we saved a space for a quote, or at least something important that we want to highlight. So we have kind of our quote, we have our bullet points, details. These are the things that we want to, again, draw the journalists to, so they can just say, oh, great, let me just copy these bullet points right over. Oh, journalists, right, we love having quotes to add some of that personality and personableness to the article. So it's always nice to provide that. So thinking about kind of that next sort of little section, what could be a potential quote that you're going to put in your press release? So again, we're imagining we have been hired, we're consulting for career readiness, and it is not unusual. In fact, I'd say it's more common than not for PR professionals to write quotes for their clients. And then you send it to them, they approve it, they give you some talking points. Same with speeches. IELTS speech writers also have some background in PR. Most speeches we listen to are written by somebody else. Again, talking points provided, final approval, heavy, edits, always there, but like a professional is writing the speeches. Same with a lot of quotes, any kind of statement, especially if we think crisis communication. They definitely, if you are like, I feel like I'm really good at like putting words in people's mouths, maybe crisis communication is for you because you'll be there kind of helping direct. Here's some things that you should say. Here's what our statement should be like. So get comfortable kind of thinking about what could be a great quote. And then in our not hypothetical practice, we would send it over to Lisa, or Crystal or whoever at Career Readiness. So a good quote, always going back again to who is your audience, what is kind of the outlet you're thinking about sending this to, and that will help kind of dictate what that quote would be. Oh my gosh. Okay. Whew. Yeah, these are definitely coming together so nicely. The first one is mine. Again, I'm thinking about advisors, and one of the call to actions I want to set up and sort of call back to for those advisors. It is about, registering, talking to students. So anytime you can, if you're talking directly to your client and get an actual quote from them, that's obviously great, but you might have to coach them, a little, ask them questions about, oh, what would you love the audience to, know or hear? Tell me, your favorite thing about this event. Those are all great ways to get quotes from your client directly. And if you can't get a quote directly and you need to write one, kind of think about, okay, if I was this event planner, right, put yourself in their shoes. What are you kind of hoping? What would you love to see from the event? This can kind of help us get to the quote. Want to make sure UNC students have the chance to build professional relationships early, get them started, setting themselves up for the future. Yes, love it. You have their title in there, which is excellent. I think this is a great start to a quote. And then as you revise it, we can kind of tighten it up a little bit, but I think that totally sounds like something an employer engagement and event coordinator would say, and it reinforces the core and the big picture of what this event is. So it's really great for running as a journalist as well. It's never too early to start talking about careers. Definitely short, snappy. I think this could be a great first half of a quote. And then if you get your client, or you could imagine pulling out a little bit more detail for a back half, that would give the journalist, the organization you're sending it to, then two options, and they could combine it, or they might actually just want to run with the short one. So that's definitely a really good start. Career readiness provides students with resources, opportunities to learn more. Again, great, very much in line, in theme with reinforcing that big picture. And then you can always layer in another kind of key detail. And the quote is really great, or the quote or highlight is really great when we let it expand on some of the details we've already provided in the big picture. And so you kind of have a nice through theme. Really, you want to think about in your press release, starting from the headline to the summary to the quote or highlight, to kind of that final statement, have something that is your through line. For me, it's going to be, advisors talk to students, but it depends on your audience. Great job. All right. Oh man, we're rolling through. I love it. We're gonna skip that question. You don't have to directly reply, but the last thing we'll always think about in press releases, just as formatting, is the end of the boilerplate. And so we'll definitely get to this a lot, and you'll have to answer this question and build it out for your media kits next week with your client. But do start thinking about, okay, what might go in a boilerplate for veteran services, right? For Greek life, what's going to go in there for the GSRC, PVA, tutorial services, all of those. Okay, how do we feel about kind of working through the elements of this first press release? Are there things that we didn't talk about or forgot on our template exercise? It's a good question. So as a reminder, we didn't explicitly talk about contact information. So as you're kind of finishing, your activity exercise is already on your template, so you might have had it saved in there, but never forget contact info. However, in this case, right, we are submitting this on behalf of the client, and so you probably want to have the contact information for Lisa, on there as well. And so I would kind of, in this case, put you're submitting it, and so if it's to, I don't know, the Mirror, who do they want to follow up with? You want them to follow up with you as kind of that liaison. So have your contact information. Then you want to have information maybe CC'd for Lisa as well. We want to make sure we have the date line and when it can be released. For this date line, since it is an event on campus, if I was sending it to especially internal people, I am putting in the date line UC Ballroom, February 17th. super specific of where this news event is going. If you're sending it and writing this press release for an external audience, it might instead be University of Northern Colorado, or Greeley, and then the date. But always think about the date line, and if we put that for immediate release, it's almost always what we're going to use. We put it somewhere on the page. And at the very end, to remind people it's the very end, either put right end, or you can use these 3 little hashtags to let them know there's only one page to this document, or this is the end of the document. Sick. All right, it's going to be the end of our day. Wow, went so fast. That was fun. How do you feel? So, taking this template, this practice, you're going to always come back to this skill all semester long for your clients. Reminder, if you would like just some feedback, you want to finish up, write that press release, again, putting yourself in, I am running PR for career readiness right now. You can definitely upload that to the non-graded practice portal, meaning I will give you feedback and comments on it, but it's not part of your graded activities this semester. It's really just for you. I know some people like a lot of feedback, and I am more than happy and want to give that to you. And other people are like, what? I think I got this. I did the template. You let me know. So you can just upload that if you're interested in it. Otherwise, Monday we're going to talk about additional things in the PR toolkit that are important: emails, blogs, pitches, that kind of stuff. So that's what the reading will be about. But in class, we're really going to focus on workshopping things like media kits and really getting kind of serious about your clients. So do plan and try to set up a meeting time with your clients. Again, they are aware and they're excited to talk to you. So make sure that happens. So you have all those details ready to ultimately put together what we will call the media kit, which kind of just includes colors, logos, mission statements, what's going to be in the boilerplate, other details that news organizations and media like to know about people. Let me know if you have questions. As always, have a great weekend, and I'll see you later. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. I will stop sharing.
I had a